Good evening, everyone. This is David. I hope you're doing good. Give me just a second. All right. Got my tea here. So this is September 19th, and I wanted to get in front of the upcoming fall equinox because I received a message, and there's a lot of interesting information regarding the fall equinox. So we're going to dive into it in just a little bit. But before we do that, like we do with most of my videos, unless I forget, I like to start by getting us in a good mindset. So 1 second while I adjust something here. Okay. And so what we're going to do is take a few deep breaths with me, please. Clear your throat as I need to. You can add movement. Whatever feels comfortable. Guys, thank you for joining me here tonight. I invite you into this sacred space. Let our souls grow in this journey together. You belong here with me. Okay. Today, this is in the Helping Those in 3D Understand the Real World chapter, Red Pill, which is related to, as I mentioned, the fall equinox. Okay, I have received the message, and I'm ready to share that message. And, you know, my video has a couple other updates. There's one in the spring. You can look at spring update, world update, summer world update, and this is the third, which is the fall world update. Okay, and the spring one really loaded on the coronavirus. The summer one focused on kind of also what's happening in the world and bringing love into. Focus on the love vibration. The fall one is very interesting. I'm not going to give you any spoilers, so we'll dive into it. But it wasn't exactly what I thought it would be. But nevertheless, the message from Spirit. Before I begin, though, guys, if you're if anything that I say during this video throws you off guard, you might want to look elsewhere. You might want to look at another video, because it might very well be that, you know, this makes absolutely no sense. For example, one of the really good videos to see is the 3D, 5D timeline split and Earth split. That is a core which would help you understand some of this stuff that we're talking about tonight. And yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say, really. Really, if you've seen 2 or 3 of my videos, that's in my channel, that's helpful. And yeah, so let's go ahead and dive in. Now, this message I received from Spirit this morning. Regarding the fall equinox of 2020, what you will see, feel, and experience fully is a time depth adjustment. Guys, the other thing I wanted to say before I dive into this is that I was never a person, just so you understand the fall equinox stuff, I was never a person that paid any mind, any attention at all to winter solstices, summer solstices, spring equinox, fall equinox. The only thing I knew is that it was for farmers, and it was to detect the longest day of the year, which was kind of a big deal because I always wanted to be in the longest day of the year, have more daylight. And but come to find out that there's just so much more that goes way beyond farming that is a part of our past and is a spiritual core to it, because I guess maybe I wasn't aware of the nuances previously, but in the winter solstice of 2019, I started to feel different. It's like my heart just started opening, and that period lasted well into February, March, pretty much, that I had this experience, which was so unique. And I had heard a few people talking about on their YouTube channel about how this is something that is related to the solstice, but I still didn't really understand it. Spring solstice comes by, and I guess I was awash in coronavirus and news bombarded at that time, and didn't pay any attention to the spring solstice. But the summer solstice comes by, and I start to feel the same thing again. It's a weird feeling, and so I started to get into this, which I am a novice, a rookie. I don't understand these, but it kind of is interesting from the perspective not just of farms historically, but native cultures in general. Why, for example, would whatever you want to call it, source, God, the universe, pass energies through us and change our things within us, help us to grow spiritually during those certain times? I don't really know the answer to you, but it does make sense from the perspective of how animals live in nature, because the summer solstice is absolutely critical time, when in the spring, the animals are mating. In the summer, the babies are born and raised and reared to, pups and chicks and everything. And then they're able to get out and survive and have plenty of time to grow, get fat, get ready, and learn and grow in skills before the cold winter comes. So, each one of these times of year are very important to the whole planet, and historically the humans as well, as we had more of a native connection. So I do believe there's a lot more under the surface that probably has been hidden from us, and that we should be learning in our schools related to these equinoxes and solstices. So I look forward to learning more. Okay. Now, with that said, I'm going to go ahead into the reading. What you will see, feel, and experience fully is a time depth adjustment in which certain cylinders of time, as you perceive it, no longer function in full integration with the set clock of now, as you perceive it. Rather than explain the complex set of details inherent here, I would rather propose a metaphor. Okay, so that's the first paragraph. I want to just back up and go through it real briefly. Okay, so what we're getting with this fall equinox is a time depth adjustment in which certain cylinders of time, as we perceive it, no longer function in full integration with the set clock of now, as you perceive it. So basically, our perceptions of time are going to change quite strongly. The equinox starts on Tuesday. Okay, so now what's interesting, in August, probably into July and August, my wife and I have already noticed that time seems to be speeding up for the both of us, which is very interesting. And I've heard that from other people who tend to be spiritual people, that time is speeding up for them, which is very fascinating, because the idea that certain cylinders of time, as you perceive it, no longer function in full integration with the set clock of now. Yeah, that's what's happening. Our perception, our time is speeding up for us. And eventually we'll be in a place where we live for hundreds and hundreds of years, and something to the effect of a year here in the 3D world will be a day or a week exchange in the new world that we're headed to. So time is really speeding up for us. We're going to live much, much longer lives. And the only other thing there is the set clock of now, being the present moment. That's the clock where all clocks are set, kind of the grand master clock. And so I still don't know exactly how to understand this, but I believe it will be easier for us to be in the now moment versus 10 years ago. When I first started learning about the present moment in 2006 with Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now, I found it very, very difficult. And so, of course, my ego's been hit by a blunt face hammer for years and years and years. So it's weakened and my shell of ego is cracked. And so I've been able to grow spiritually. But beyond that, yes, I do see it becoming much, much easier to be in the moment, to meditate and things like that used to be impossible. Okay, so the final statement is, rather than explain the complex set of details inherent here, I would rather propose a metaphor. Imagine a tree in which the lower branches were attuned to the earth, while the higher branches were attuned to the sun. That is what we are proposing. As your spiritual growth continues, time must stop performing as it has in the past relative to your existence, and it must instead open its portals further in order to engage your newfound awareness. Otherwise, spiritual growth on the higher plane would not continue. So it's a beautiful metaphor of older growth trees, whereas when we're on the 3D planet and 10 years ago, 15 years ago for me or you might have been kind of like a smaller tree, always going towards the sunlight. But now you're an older, spiritually evolved tree. Your lower branches are starting to sag down to the earth, whereas your upper branches are reaching toward the sun. And so that creates a dynamic in which time is involved, which I still don't completely understand. So let me read this one more time. As your spiritual growth continues, time must stop performing as it has in the past relative to your existence, and must instead open its portals further to engage your newfound awareness. So, that is it's very interesting. Anything related to space and time I find challenging, so I'm just, in this podcast, kind of the bearer of information. What this means for the collective depends on the individual, but for those in higher planes of existence, they will experience the most rapid shifts within this equinox period. Indeed, this equinox period is only a precursor to a much bigger shift, which is going to occur with the winter solstice. So again, the higher planes of existence experience the most rapid shifts, and it's going to tie into this winter solstice. Now, to process these energies, stay rooted in nature and do not allow any distractive forces, and there will be many, to corrupt or curtail your deep spiritual growth as a person. You are to many, talking about me specifically, you are to many the rock that binds us together, and that is an important function for many that you relate to. And so if you're watching this, the chances are that you're on that spiritual dimension and growth ascension process as well. And so you are probably, we tend to be the rocks in our families, in places where people maybe don't understand the world. They come to us for information, or maybe that's specific to me, but okay. Also, regarding, but that was real important. Stay rooted in nature and do not allow any outside distractive forces, and there will be many, to corrupt or curtail your deep spiritual growth. So we're going to talk about that a little more in the future distractions. Also, regarding the fall equinox's relationship to the upcoming winter solstice, we would advise you to process those energies in tandem, together, in a flow in which the energies merge to intersect in a collective dynamic in which there are no oddities. Excuse me. In other words, understand that what you are seeing now on your planet is a paradox. It is a difficult time to live now. This is late September of 2020. Got an election coming up in another month. It's craziness all in the streets. What you're seeing now on your planet is a paradox. It's a difficult time to live now because it seems that there are two different planets. That is because it is true. Yes, they can still commingle, but their function is not that. Okay, so the 3D, 5D Earth split, I did a video on that. Brad Johnson did a video on that. Several people have done this type of videos, and the Aaron Darty, I think his name is. Okay, so we can still commingle. The different planets, there are different planets now. You know, it's no longer one planet. There's clearly there is a divergence that has begun. Now we can still commingle. You know, although I'm a spiritual person and I prefer walking in nature and peace, I can go down the street to the big city and, you know, throw a brick through a window or have a brick thrown at me, get in political crap, a rally if I wanted to, and cause a whole bunch of chaos. I don't have any inclination to do that, but I still could. So we still commingle with that world, but that is not our function. In other words, if you're in one world, your function is not to commingle with the other world. Same thing with the 3Ds. They're not commingling much with us because, and they were earlier in the year. But in my opinion, this is just my opinion, but I've gotten some intuition over the last few weeks, maybe the end of August, that kind of seemed the guidance of the way for the 3D people who are going to stay on the 3D planet. They have made their bed. They're going to lie in it. You know, whether it's a political election, you know, they said, you know what, I'm not going to hear anything else. Nobody can convince me. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm going to believe what I want to believe. And there are people that are still on the fence. There are people that are still coming into the new world timeline, I believe, and the growing spiritually. But a lot of people have, probably majority, have already made their bed as to which direction they're gonna lean towards. So in other words, so when it says they can still commingle but their function is not that is because they've made their bed and they must lie in it. And for us in 5D, we're not to be focused really with the 3D world anymore. We've done our part. We can be if we're called to be. I'm not saying don't, but whatever your intuition calls you to do. So now here's where it talks about the difference between how to understand and perceive the difference between the 3D and the 5D worlds. Because again, it's a paradox. It's very difficult because it seems like we're on two planets, but we're still living together. You can commingle. So imagine it like this: a plane of mirrors that slowly separates. Imagine this is a plane of mirrors in a room, and it slowly separates from another plane of mirrors, or better yet, they're outside. Okay, so in the beginning, while they're close together for a while, the mirrors reflect similar things. So, you know, they're in trees around there, and there's nature. So they're reflecting, they look almost identical. They're reflecting the same trees, they're reflecting each other. But as time goes on, there starts to be unique things into each mirror until enough time and distance has passed that you come to learn that these mirrors have nothing in common. So by the time those two mirrors get a mile apart, now all of a sudden you've got one here in a swamp, and you've got another one here on a hillside. One looking to the sunrise and the other looking to the sunset. So they're completely different. And that's what it says. The mirrors have nothing in common. So that's kind of where we're headed. And we're almost deceived now. So we're not really a part of that 3D world. So this talks through that. So in essence, please know that you are on an accelerated path for deep spiritual growth. You need to continue working on your love path, as this will get you there smoothly and without delay. The distractions prey on you intentionally. You must realize that. All they want is your attention, but all you have is your attention. Do not give it to them. They do not have any good intentions for you. Any news you see occurring on the other planet does not apply to you. And any news on your planet is truly good news. So I don't know about you, but that was music to my ears when I heard that. And just to reflect really quick, distractions, guys, how they prey on you intentionally. You must realize that. All they want is your attention, but that's all we have is our attention. All we have is this present moment. Don't give it up, because anyone that's going to try to take it, they don't have good intentions. They have intentions of us to buy their product or their service, or to manipulate us or distract us or confuse us. You know, it's not related to the family per se. I don't see it as that, or somebody close to you who, not saying avoid people, but definitely outside distractions are a major problem. Social media. I'm putting some links in here, guys, to different references to help on this message, today's message. Time link, Understanding Time, Bruce Lipton. Distractions, especially social media. So there's plenty of links in here that'll help you guys. Understanding the Matrix as an illusory world. We didn't really talk too much about that, but as I am still growing, related to the concept of time. And being rooted in nature, I did a link to a video there as well. I consistently hear going into nature. And the way I kind of see that is, you know, like if you could imagine for a second, maybe like this, the worlds are in commingling, as the message says right now. Well, eventually we are going to be shifting. And one intuitive has said that begins with this upcoming winter solstice. As that starts to happen, you start to see a little bit of movement. Now, this world over here in 3D has something that can no longer be perceived by a portion of this world in 5D. That's headed toward 5D. And that would be something terrible, like war or famine or some very, very low vibration. On this side, it's a very, very high vibration. Maybe a walk in nature, maybe it could be whatever intuitive messages that this 3D world cannot process and just doesn't even, goes completely over their head. Okay, so that will continue to happen again and again until there's more clearance between the two worlds, until they don't share very much in common, and eventually there will be a split. It will take time. So last message I got with that is, well, the nature reference is to really help in the 5D. That's really going to be very, very important and very helpful for us in the future. Other intuitives have talked a lot about that. And really stop watching the news. The other part of this world here that's going to be breaking off is technology that will not be existent in this world. We'll have our own technologies, but we're not going to be wrapped up and absorbed. And what is the word? stupefied by that, hypnotized by technology at all. Okay, now I want to, in the remaining time that I have, I want to give you an update also on kind of the world, behind the scenes, what's happening with the world. A lot of crazy stuff. A lot of smoke screens, but here's what's really going on. What you will experience in the coming days and weeks is still up in the air as of this moment. A rapid dynamic is occurring with each of these two power structures, the old power structures of the past and the new alliance for the future. There is certainly no sense, however, in which we would see the new alliance in any real danger of not reaching their goals of the creation of a peaceful planet in the coming months. However, how that process unfolds depends on a number of differing factors. And ideally, one of those factors is the alignment of rational individuals choosing love rather than disalignment or malalignment of forces who choose hatred and division. The latter would bring this biggest delayed outcome, while the choice of love would obviously usher in the new era as quickly as possible. Okay, so it's basically saying that there's no way they see the new alliance that's coming up to be anything in jeopardy of not reaching their goals of a peaceful planet. We're going to have a beautiful planet created in the future. I've said that before. That's my intuition. I don't have any dreams of what you would really consider the Book of Revelations of this world burning. At least not in my dreams, and which would relate to being on the 5D timeline, the 5D planet. So this might be different from you if you're not headed that direction, but so there's still a number of factors to determine how we're getting there, how quickly we're getting there. If a lot of people choose love, we're there a lot quicker, whereas otherwise there could be a delay of some sort if people do not choose love, and that makes love very important to usher into the world right now. So as for the arrests, they are imminent and nothing can be done to prevent them, no matter who wins the election. That is because, and I think this is related to the different things going on that you hear about. As for the arrests, they are imminent and nothing can be done to prevent them, no matter who wins the election. That is because the trials have been conducted by juries, and those results will be made public to see. So if a Democratic administration in 2021 attempts to stall or remove, this is assuming a Democrat would win the presidency. So if in 2021 they attempt to stall or remove criminal prosecutions of these individuals who, again, have already been, these trials have already been conducted and the results will be made public. So basically these people will be arrested. Attempts to stall or remove prosecutions of these individuals, which include 3 former presidents, then the people will not stand for it, and that will be the end of that. That would be the biggest delay in our spiritual growth is say the Democrats were to win the election and then try all of this that is happening under the radar, these arrests of these individuals, which include 3 presidents, that would, if they tried to overturn that through some kind of PR campaign, which nothing is, after seeing 2020, nothing is beyond the media and the government's ability to overwhelm us. I mean, they've done some crazy things, so who knows what to expect, what kind of craziness they could try to convince us of. But there's be too many people and there's smoking gun evidence of it, so it wouldn't last. And that would be the end of that, which would, again, still usher in that new change that we're looking for. Understand, this is the last message of the day, understand regarding the destruction of the planet. There's been a lot of wildfires happening. The whole West is burning. Regarding the destruction of the planet, that there are no consistencies. There are no consistencies on which we would preclude that your Earth will be gravely damaged in any way. That, in fact, will not be allowed, and those attempts will be circumvented. So I think it's not saying that there won't be any fires at all or any damage to Mother Earth, but it's saying that they will not be allowed to cause real destruction to Mother Earth. That will be prevented by some higher force, higher power. And last but not least, guys, there's a few reports I want to point you towards, which I'll also link in the description. The first is Brad Johnson's Earth Intelligence Report, which I believe was around the 1st of September. He does those every month, and those are really great reports from what his message from Spirit is. And in that message, so he said very similar things, that it's all but over for the old, dark, deep forces, whatever you want to call them, that they're basically screwed, and there's going to be a beautiful, beautiful flowering of humanity. And this is also echoed by the Magenta Pixie report in her videos, which I'll also link in the description, which is just a few days ago, and which she talked to Spirit and said that there is really no way, period, that a good timeline for the planet cannot occur. Now, for those in 3D, it's not going to be a hell on earth scenario, even with like the Book of Revelations type of thing. It's not going to be that bad. It's still up in the air, and I've given that message as well back from earlier in the summer. It's still up in the air exactly what happens, but it's not going to be that bad. We are still consciously creating our present to unwrap in the future, and that is something that is still up in the air. But as the current trajectory, it's very, 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 very positive. Okay, and lastly, I want to update a couple of things in accuracy from previous posts. This intuitive guidance and awareness is probably not always perfect, but it's worth noting that in 2 videos I recently saw, some things I hadn't heard way back in the spring came to fruition. The first one was David. So basically, the guidance I got this morning said that 3 presidents are going to be indicted and arrested. That's not being announced before the election. 3 former presidents. So I'll let you take your pick as to who you think those are. I'm going to link to this David Wilcock video. Well, the one message I got, I think I put it in the 3D, 5D Earth video, was that Obama, I got a message that Obama got arrested back in the spring. I think it was in April he got arrested. And interestingly, I hadn't seen anything from Obama, but within a few days after that, I saw him out golfing, and it looked like he was being escorted by Secret Service or something. And it wasn't that off guard, but it was kind of weird to see him go out golfing by himself. And other than that, I didn't think anything of it, because Obama in the summertime, he's appeared at rallies and stuff for Biden, and he's traveled around and stuff. But the message I got in the spring was that he was under house arrest. So I did not know how accurate or inaccurate that was, but that's what I got. And I put that in that video. A few days ago, David Wilcock did a video in which he did not name anyone by specifics. However, he did say that the sources that he have, which were not intuitive sources, but these are sources that are connected to the, what did we call it? The New Alliance for the Future, which consists of military whistleblowers, consists of a Chinese dragon family, multiple other countries, India at this point, and even some recent defections, as Brad Johnson talked about in that Earth Intelligence report, from the old power structures of the past. But David Wilcock mentioned that he mentioned that high level, according to the military insiders, high level people in the American government were arrested temporarily in the spring, and they were let go because of the blackmail scenario. And I don't really get into it, but there's just a ton about blackmail and stuff. And there was blackmail that they had on the alliance, and so they had to release them. And so although he didn't talk about Obama specifically, it instantly clicked to me that I got an actual name that Obama was arrested, and that just kind of made sense to me. He said very high level officials were arrested in the spring. The second thing, from a different video, I don't remember which video I put it out, but I got clear guidance that shipments of gold were received, and this notion of this relationship between the Dragon family of China and the Trump administration, and that that gold had been delivered and secured into the United States. Now, Benjamin Fulford talked about this at the end of June, that there was gold being sent at the month of July. I don't know the exact date that I got the message, but I believe it was probably mid-June. It was before I heard it from Benjamin Fulford. Otherwise, I hadn't thought anything of that too. But the one of the last links in here from Charlie, and I can't remember his last name, but it is a link to, he's a really good source, financial information, who did an interview with Kerry in the Project Camelot, related to, he said that the Chinese family, the Dragon family, is working with Trump, and that they are in possession of gold, and that there are agreements to have that part of the, what he called the quantum financial system. So although he didn't say that there was gold that was shipped to the United States, very much aligns with that information. And I think those are all the links I've got in the description, but it's quite interesting, guys. This is September 19th, 2020. I'm sorry for going a little bit long. These are potentially going to be challenging times. I've painted a rosy picture in this video. Personally, we have food and water. We have emergency supplies, and we've recommended that others have the same thing. And that David Wilcock, in his video, it's almost impossible to find unless you watch the whole 4 hours or whatever, because his videos are just very, very long. But he said the same thing. You need to have supplies of beans and rice and 5-gallon water, propane for your backup, whatever you need to have, think about that. And that's wise in general anyway. It also links to Pastor Dana Coverstone, and Dana Coverstone I got into much more in depth in the summer reading timeline about how the fall could be very, very bad for us. David Wilcock did, I'm not going to lie, David Wilcock did talk about that as well, and about how there are potential people coming up from El Salvador and Honduras and countries like that related to drug cartels or whatever that could be threatening people at the polls, and some very bad things happening. Just a few days ago, he said that. But so the message I got from Spirit was a very positive message, and I choose to live in that place. I can't explain it in any other way other than this plane of mirrors, but to say that we are protected. Stay in truth, stay in faith. You are protected. Don't do stupid stuff. You don't have to do stupid stuff. That's what Spirit is clearly telling us. We're going to have some debates real soon. We're going to have some trickery. We're going to have some switchery, and some things happen. We're going to have an election. We might have a stalled election. We might have I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. There's been so many lies from the corporate media that you don't know who to trust. You trust your gut. In my opinion, I trust my gut more than anything, that everything is going to be fine, guys. And right on the backside of this, there is going to be an uplifting trajectory, because so many things. I was talking to my wife about this. In my career, I got into public service, and I was a public servant in city and state for 10 years. I always wanted to create a better world. I always wanted to take my job seriously and create a better world for my kids and for everyone, And it always seemed, whether it was in agriculture, and I got it related into policy, health, how can the wealthiest country in the world be so overweight and diabetic and just have these horrible health conditions? Why do we have high rates of cancer when poor people in Cambodia or wherever have none, or tribal societies? And it's not, I guess we thought, oh, it was just this, that, or you could say it was big business or whatever, but it's worse than that. Like, what's been uncovered is so much worse than that. I never could understand that. I always seem, you keep pushing toward the light and then you just can't get anywhere. So now what I'm saying is, right on the backside of all this craziness is a world that opens up and flowers and is beautiful. And if you can know that, then you can be a part of the creation of that. And that is a beautiful thing to behold and to be involved in the creation of that. So I'll leave it there, guys. We are on that timeline and trajectory. No matter how hectic it goes, no matter whether your power gets cut off or your water gets cut off for a while, know the truth. Protect yourself, protect your family. Don't go crazy. Don't go mentally crazy. Be rooted in nature, be in spirit, and you'll always make the best decisions. You have to know, you have to trust, and love, even love your enemies, because if you've seen the faces of, for example, Portland mugshots, you see these faces, and these people are so hollow inside, and their soul, spiritually bankrupt, Well, love them. And that's one thing you can do that can really lift the planet beyond anything else. Okay, guys, I love you guys. Y'all have a good night. Bye-bye.